I'm going to roll 3 random descriptions for your character, and then you, and I can help you if you need. I think some people might need help to kind of get it going along. You are going to use the words to interpret what you think this means for how your character looks, whether it's a physical trait, a facial trait, characteristic, personality. That's totally up to you. But this is more so, I'm thinking more so like a physical description of your character, and then you know anything else you can role play anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll Chaos your first description. Now let's just jump back to this page. Let me run through this first to kind of show you what we're going to get into. First, we're going to roll your description. Like I said, we're going to roll 3 of those, and remember those are pairs, so it's going to technically it's 3 pairs of descriptions. Then we're going to roll your ability and skills. We're going to roll 2 of those. You get up to 2 re-rolls, but once you re-roll it, you have to keep it unless you have another re-roll left. But you know you can't choose between the 2 or your previous roll. Once you roll, it's permanent unless you have another re-roll left. Then we're going to identify your attributes. All of your attributes are average. Everyone's attributes are average across the board. However, depending on what your 2 skills that you rolled, you will get a +1 rank shift in the governing attributes for those abilities. And you can imagine that depending on what the skill is, they might stack, or you could justify saying, you know, this is, I want strength to govern this ability, or I want toughness to, you know, because toughness and strength is very close. I want toughness to govern this ability. So you'll have some, you know, some leeway there. Then we're going to determine your epithet. Your epithet is your character's name. Now we're going to go strictly based off of nicknames. These nicknames or epithets are going to be obviously based off of your entire description, or your skills, your abilities. If you're a swordsman and you're fast, you might be your epithet might be quick slash. But what I ask is that you make your nickname, your epithet, based off of what your character is capable of doing, so that we identify each other as how we contribute to the Black Tower. The Black Tower is pretty much our home base where every character is going to start off. Every character can go in their own separate directions, but the Black Tower is a home base for all of us. We can all call the Black Tower home. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll your first description. And we do not get re-rolls on description. So I'm going to roll your first description, and then I want you to Chaos to just start thinking about, you know, what you're visualizing. And of course, that first one, it's not until you roll all 3 when you can start really combining them and making something of it. But hey, maybe the first one you can get an idea of the direction you want to go in. All right. So what does your stranger look like? Politely important. Politely important. Generously generously defeated. Generously defeated, politely important. Okay, and then the last description, anxiously / natural. Just as a reminder, as a stranger, we are a humanoid race. You're human, but not in the sense of, you know, how we know humans to be. We are humanoid, you know, you're fleshy, you know, you have hair. I really want us to be morphed by our surroundings in the world. So stay as close to human as possible, but we're not called humans. We're humanoid, we look human, but this is a fantasy genre. This is a fantasy setting, and I could totally see people being changed away from human. Politely important. Generously defeated. Anxiously natural. Together, they mean something. All together, they definitely mean something. I'm picturing a man who is confident yet humble. Okay. I'm feeling like these describe my demeanor more than anything else. Right, so you need something, you're looking for something physical, right? That's where that natural comes in, I think. I mean, I could roll up another one if you want another one. I'm gonna roll up another one just in case you want another one. Offensive. Would you like me to roll another, or are you good? Confident yet humble is what I have so far. You know, I feel you. I'm good. Okay. This is all about the journey and character development. If you come up with something later, then you come up with something later. I look so normal, it's suspect. I like that. So here we go. Your first skill. Now this is going to be how you contribute, how you know, this is your meat and potatoes. This is how you're going to survive in the world. Now there's a possibility that these skills aren't something that make you a physical threat or a formidable threat, but it's going to be something else that you can be strong in and excel at. If you're a person who just bakes bread, you open up a shop, you open up a bread shop and you sell it to very powerful travelers and adventurers, and they know you as the bread person. They vow to protect you because they love your bread. So let's roll your skill here. Ready? Projectile weapons. That's a good one. Projectile weapons. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Persuasion. Persuasion. Woo. That's a good one. We rocking out with that, or you wanna gamble and see what else you can get? I mean, already you got projectile weapons. Keep them both. Okay. Those are good. Those are good. So I'm gonna go ahead and save these in here. But let me ask you, are you going with a general use of projectile weapons, or are you going to kind of flavor it a bit and say it's a specific type of projectile weapon that you use, and maybe you're good at all, you know, a myriad of projectile weapons, but it's a specific type of projectile weapon that that you're good at? It's up to you. You know, some people like to role play, and so they might limit themselves in certain aspects for the sake of role playing fun. But you know, the way Mythic is, it's totally okay to be able to say, I'm going to use my projectile weapons to operate this weapon and that weapon. Next step. Identify attributes. So I had mentioned that your attributes, all of them, every character, every player is on an even playing field. We are all average strangers. Every attribute from strength, willpower, intuition, intelligence, toughness, agility. Hopefully I'm not forgetting one. They are average. But your two skills that you chose, whatever attributes govern them, you get a +1 rank shift in. Projectile weapons. The attributes that govern projectile weapons, you can justify that there are several attributes that can be used for projectile weapons. Maybe you're good at projectile weapons because you have the strength to throw them, or maybe you have your fingers are agile enough and dexterous enough, so your agility is what helps you aim your projectile weapons. You have strength, agility. Okay. Agility for projectile weapons, above average agility. Okay. And persuasion, that one might be a little obvious, right? You know, that can go into intelligence, that can go into intuition, willpower. I mean, people with strong wills are hard to argue with. You know, or you can say I'm so tough that people, are persuaded. Intuition for persuasion. Okay, intuition. Okay. Projectile weapons. Persuasion. You're confident and humble. You look very unpeculiar to the point where it's suspect. You're very agile and intuitive. What is your name? Gray Dart. You awaken.
Another stranger awakens, inconspicuous, unassuming, and plain. He finds himself sprawled amongst the remains of long-gone adventurers. The room, cold, bare, and as empty as the stranger's memory consumed in absence, but slowly returning as life inflates within his limbs, his mind, and soul. In the span of a blink, his true name is spoken into his ear by a legion of disembodied whispers. Grey Dart. In his bewilderment, the stranger frantically surveys the room for an entity whom he can reason with to stop the madness, but soon realizes there is none, and slowly stands to his feet. Underfoot lies a myriad of lost possessions.
Would you like to search the pile or leave the room? What would you like to see is available? I'd like to check for a projectile weapon. Is there a projectile weapon in this pile of bones, in these remnants of lost adventurers? I'm going to say likely. Let's see. Is there a projectile weapon? Yes. And not only is there a projectile weapon, there are 3 separate projectile weapons that you can choose from. The first one is fiercely interesting. The second one, daintily strong. And the third one, miserably rustic. Daintily strong. We're going with daintily strong. Okay. The daintily strong one, is this a very lightweight weapon? Is that why it's so daintily? I'm gonna say very likely. Yes. It's very light, but powerful. It's also softly mighty. So double downing on the fact that it's light and strong and its effectiveness. Is it darts? That's a very great question. I'm going to say very likely. Yes. It's darts.
Glistening under eye, Grey Dart identifies something familiar to him and retrieves a stock of lethal throwing projectiles. Pinched between fingers, Grey Dart twirls one of the dainty, lethal missiles in front of his eye. With trained precision and execution, these reliable tools served their purpose thoroughly in the clutches of this stranger. Shifting its weight across the rows of his knuckles before dexterously reuniting it with countless others on his belt, Grey Dart continues to search the pile.
Okay, what else are you searching for in this pile of lost adventurers? Something exotic. Is there anything exotic in this pile? I'm going to say somewhat unlikely. I'm going to say unlikely. There definitely isn't. In fact, everything in here is very common from what you've seen so far. Other than your darts, everything is fairly common. One more question, or one more attempt. Is there a water skin? I'm going to say very likely. Yes. You find a water skin. There isn't water in this world. I'm serious. There isn't water in this world. You find a something skin, and what you find, cautiously remarkable. Cautiously remarkable. This liquid, and this particular liquid that's in this skin is often found in skins. And people do drink it. It is a resource it's a remarkable resource that people consume, and they're very cautious with how they handle it because it's not readily found. This might be another beverage. This might be another resource that is a little less common than this world's equivalent to water. And it's in this skin here. We're going to call this. That's a good question. Is it intoxicating? Is it intoxicating? I'm going to say, I think we can leave it up to chance on that with a 50-50. What do you think? 50-50. Roll it. No, it's not intoxicating. In fact, it's pretty nutritious. It's a little thick, and it's orange. Does it taste good? I'm going to say likely. Orange nourishment, or tang as we know it. Or tang as we know it. This is our world's equivalent to tang. I want that orange stuff. Sugar water orange. I wonder if it tastes good. Does it taste good? Maybe it's just so resourceful and it's just so nutritious that, you know, it's one of those things that people drink on a regular because they know it's good for them and they don't really like it. Maybe kind of like a, let's see, does it taste good? I'm gonna say likely. Does it taste good? It tastes, yeah. Not only does it taste good, I'll let you add on to that. We got a critical yes on it. Does it taste good? It's like a breakfast shake. Yeah. Okay. Man, you saw it and you was like, yo, let's go. A liquid meal, yeah.
Grey Dart kneels down and retrieves a small leathery sack of bitter thick wet. A premier source of nutrients, dark orange in color, thick as ooze, but smelled like a pleasant rain. The density of thick wet provides a satisfactory satiation suitable for replacing meals. Grey Dart sniffs the aroma off of the satchel's lid and immediately recounts the bitter but universally accepted aftertaste. Grey Dart peers around the room. There is a single exit into a hall lit by the front entrance. A strong breeze can be heard. The draft fell.
Every session that we have, it's going to be, we're going to roll the lore topic, and then that lore topic is going to be what your mini adventure, your little mini session is about. Anything can happen while this is happening. This is the main focus other than yourself. And spin the lore, baby. What will it be? Natural laws. You're in this room. Okay? There's one entrance out of the room that leads into a bend that goes out into like the main floor of this tower that you're in. And you can see some light shining from around that corner. And the door, you hear the outside. You hear wind. You hear a breeze, as if the doors are open around the corner. What do? Approach cautiously. Okay, so as you peek around the corner, is there anything around the corner that you should be concerned about? I'm going to say somewhat unlikely. I'm actually going to say unlikely. Yes.
Approaching cautiously, the stranger Grey Dart treads lightly across the stone floor and peeks around the corner. The daylight bled into the entry hall. Its light like embers signaling the path to a fate worth fulfilling. Sad sight. A bipedal, saddle-bound beast not much larger than himself lay stretched beside the doorway. Slain upon withering foliage, even in death, the beast's remarkable beauty provoked a certain kind of sympathy. There was a grisly, scorched hole bored into its gigantic, elongated head beside its gorgeous eyes that sat fixed on the sky above. One could wonder who would be so cruel. More importantly, where are they now?
You can see that there was a little skirmish that had taken place out front of the tower. So you begin to search the bodies. Do you find anything that can give you some more insight in the situation? I'm going to say somewhat likely. Yes, you do find something. A random event occurs. Move away from a thread, a press/ambush.
Grey Dart approaches the bodies strewn across the dirt highway. These wide, disproportionate bodies were of another species entirely. Their grotesque faces were smothered in dirt. Their incredibly large ear orifices now sheltered tiny organisms congregating within the blood below. This blood was still wet, their robes dirty, but couldn't have been sitting here for long. Within his immediate area, Grey Dart sees a large, windy highway path, several rock formations, and flatlands spanning as far as his eyes can see. Grey Dart comes to a knee for a closer look. The footprints look as if a skirmish took place. He spots the grievous wounds to their necks, and bloody blotches over minor scrapes upon a bare, misshapen torso. They were either looted or were unarmed from the beginning. Grey Dart spots tracks of a small group walking away from the tower, down the path. Suddenly, Grey Dart hears small voices that then slowly grow into boisterous chatter from a seemingly large group approaching from behind the tower.
Okay. Is there a place around that you can hide, a decent place around that you can hide behind? I'm going to say near shore thing. Yes.
Grey Dart dashes behind a rock formation and peers around it just in time as a large brood of Plapindo cultists arrive on hovering pallets of conjured flesh and bone, pulled by dozens of the aforementioned beast mounts who begin crooning melodically with silky baritone vocal streaks signaling to their masters of their discovery. These hooded, ghoul-faced men and women flood the area, surveying, investigating, and some casting spells into the air. Surprisingly, it wasn't their 3 dead comrades that pulled their curiosities. The Black Tower's presence seemed to have had them vastly confused, as if they themselves had never seen a construct like this before. The lead cultist approaches the entrance slowly, seemingly reacting to something it heard from inside, which is odd, being that no one was inside with Grey Dart, or so he thought.
Now you have an opportunity to stick around, or you can flee the area. You can stick around a little bit longer, or you have an opportunity to move away. What would you like to do? Flee while they are distracted by the anomaly tower. Okay, so you leave the area.
Suddenly, one of the large, handsome-faced beasts pokes its head around Grey Dart's rock and begins bellowing an exciting tune. And dirt and rocks are whipped up by its rapid breaths ebbing and flowing through the canals of its large, narrow nostrils. However, when the dirt settles and clears, the creature finds nothing. The cultist upon its back massages the bear's tiny ear and steers it away back toward the greater group. Grey Dart was long gone. Some daylight passes, and we see the second stranger, Grey Dart, trekking across desolate dry land, enduring strong winds and veils of dirt, obscuring paths, delaying a wholehearted attempt to reaching any kind of civilization before nightfall. The air grew denser, the sky darkens, and the wind picks up. Maybe a storm was brewing ahead. To press on would mean finding out. when suddenly an explosion of rock and sand erupts hundreds of yards away, accompanied by a barrage of booms fell underfoot. Forming from the maelstrom of sandy winds, a colossal entity manifests in the air, and like a concert of 100 woodwinds, the heavens resonate with the echoes of the storm. This godly amalgamation of peak humanoid physique writhed with endless appendages, rapidly transitioning from a solid muscle-bound titan to an elusive fleeting wind as it spins and sways leagues above ground. The entity's size was so overwhelmingly large that it was too hard to determine how far away one needed to be in order to know that one was safe. This dangerous, fantastic witnessing of events soon magnified when another dervishing giant of the air whips into the immediate area, making a beeline for the first. Everything in its path became uprooted and displaced way up into the air, either dissipating into the wind or plummeting back to the planet. Once both entities collide, the sheer brouhaha births a flatland battering tempest that could be felt from realms away. Grey Dart steps back, slightly nudged by the initial winds, then briefly loses footing again from the crackling first blows exchanged between the quarreling behemoths of nature.
Alright, so using the mythic adventure crafter, what I'm going to proceed to do is to begin rolling some plot lines and plot points and so on and so forth to construct this mini adventure. I just wanted to start off with getting you, waking up. That's the equivalent to waking up in a jail cell in any Elder Scrolls game. But I'm going to use the adventure crafter. Helps me craft little adventures. It's really cool. I programmed it all into the software I'm using here, so you can see what I draw. Character has a clever idea. I'm going to go ahead and introduce a new character, and this is the character that's going to have the idea, okay? They are connected to this plot line, and this plot line is this person having a clever idea.
Soon, a voice is heard calling out to Grey Dart from afar.
Hey, you!
He turns and sees an adventurer a ways off, fleeing the trajectory of the storm's violent skirmish. A top-heavy, wayward swordsman can be seen flagging him down with a frantic wave of their hand, while trying to keep themselves balanced amidst the strong winds. His tanky coat of arms hung crooked over his wispy body, perpendicular to his crooked, horned helmet.
What do you do? Assume weak posture. Okay. Does the night continue to approach? I'm going to say very likely. Yes.
Grey Dart heeds the dopey stranger's call and awaits, but cautiously.
So this night approaches, and he says, neglect/love.
We cut to Grey Dart and the doofy swordsman standing arm's length apart, framed in awkward silence. The swordsman was dull and scatterbrained. He fumbles through the language, but manages to muster up a ridiculous proposition with strong urgency. He speaks of a desperate need to reach town before too long. He has a duty that he cannot neglect for the sake of loved ones. He goofily pumps his chest out, assuming a heroic posture, and says, "I'm a knight." Nose and chin high, the ditzy knight peeks through his peripheral in search of a reaction, but finds nothing on Grey Dart's illegible face. He then drops the ruse and proposes he and Grey Dart tether themselves to each other to better navigate through the storm, in turn reaching town sooner, so that he may sooner handle his, he pauses, course corrects, and continues, "Handle my business," he says, with an unconvincing clenched fist. "Help this knight, will you not?" Grey Dart hears him out, then glances at the gigantic laws of nature tussling ahead.
What say you? Ask him what is more important than seeking shelter and waiting out the storm. Does he share some of his business? I'm gonna say likely. No. Damn, that was almost a hell no. So what does he say? Bestow disruption. Persuade him that it's better to wait out the storm. Okay. I failed to mention this, but your 2 skills that you roll have a high rank. So it's going to be your persuasion skill of high. I'm going to roll the potency for his stat to see how well versed he is. Minimum. Yeah, he's ditzy. That's true. And I missed that. So it's going to be your high persuasion versus weak. It's going to be the difficulty of his it's going to be his rank. So you're persuading him that it's better to wait out the storm.
Grey Dart unpacks the Ditzy Knights' dangerous plan and effectively explains why walking through that is not suitable for the likes of them two. The knight looks to the storm once more. We see the defending wind colossus get chokeslammed into a mountain, sending chunks of gale-propelled rocks ripping through a flock of flying creatures. Their airborne blood mist quickly vacuumed into the spiraling twisters, ushering in the colossus's return to form.
Let's see what he says. Cruelty, riches.
A startling outburst ensues as the knight swats away at the storm. We'll only be close enough to smell it, not touch it. He then reiterates the urgency, but goes on to also add that money is at stake. Money to die for. He gestures at Grey Dart with fingers meant to symbolize money and enticement. He wishes not to be delayed by a storm that they could easily wade through.
Looks around for other options. Are there any other options? Does Grey Dart spot any other options for shelter other than the tower? I'm going to say unlikely. No.
Grey Dart looks around for shelter to wait it out in, but finds nothing significantly large enough to shield them should the storms come rolling back in their direction.
But the only shelter you see in miles is behind you in the tower that you came from. Now, keep in mind, you can go another direction. It'll just take longer before you can get to some sort of civilization. He mentioned a town. It's faster to go through the storm. It's a longer way in other directions, and it might be more perilous. Is the storm moving out of the way to the east? 50-50. Exceptional, no. The storm is moving towards the town.
The knight begins pouting, arms folded, just as the violent storm swings directly back into the direction of town. It seemed that it was all unavoidable.
Ask the knight about the storm. What would you like to know? Does the knight know how long storms typically last? I'm going to say near sure thing. Yes. He says,
Grey Dart learns from the knight that despite its appearance, it is in fact just a windstorm to us on the surface and certainly much more lethal to inhabitants of the sky. This natural phenomena was known as Brhubbub, sibling forces of the air wrestling over open domain. We see the reflection of scenic beauty in Grey Dart's eye. It was a natural marvel to behold. According to the knight, Brhubbub stir ruckus all day, but tend to get a little more fatigued at night. But who has the time to walk behind the storm all day? The knight laughs obnoxiously, till noticing that once again he's left out on the ledge alone. Grey Dart continuing to watch nature run its course, ignoring him.
walk at a slower pace towards the town. So, my question to you is, Grey Dart, you have plenty of time, right? It's him. Are you choosing to walk this time out to get to the town? Walk behind the storm? Okay. Does Grey Dart and this ditzy knight have any issues between now and the time it takes to get to town walking behind the storm? I'm going to say somewhat likely. And by issues, I mean anything. Somewhat likely. If you can get to this town Your objective is complete. If you run into any issues, this quest gets prolonged. Do you have any issues? Yes. A crime is committed. Is the crime being committed by the ditzy knight? Likely. Yes. What kind of crime is the ditzy knight committing? Antagonize/evil.
Suddenly, he abruptly turns and shouts, "Dear Fideri!" Grey Dart nonchalantly ignores the next outburst until he shouts again, "Dear Fideri!" and points at two Uka travelers on the backs of singing Dear Fideri, leap surfing through the storm just before settling down to rest. The knight swats away at Grey Dart and trots off toward the travelers trying to unpack, flagging them down just as obnoxiously as before. He looks to be trying to negotiate his silly plan of tying together and dying together.
What do you do? Stay back and see how he fares.
Grey Dart shifts his attention back toward the evenly matched Titans and their violent dance facading as a storm. That is, until he hears an argument break out.
Does the knight kill and murder the civilian? I'm gonna say likely. No. Does the civilian kill him? Somewhat 50-50. No. Does the other civilian help? Likely. Yes. Are the two civilians jumping and successfully overwhelming the ditzy evil knight? Likely. No. Event. Vengeance/dispute.
Grey Dart sees the travelers barking at the knight, who is actively and aggressively trying to hijack them, pulling on their Fideri saddle whilst brandishing his blade. One of the Uka travelers leap off and confronts him, and suddenly the knight immaturely grabs him by one of its ears. An uncommon mistake instantly met with swift, sudden retaliation. The Uka slaps his helmet sideways but is clobbered by a blind backhand swung by the knight, now frantically adjusting his oversized helmet.
What do you do? Watch. Okay. So, are things pretty serious? Like, you know, are they going for the kill? I'm gonna say likely. Yes, and putting the two ranks of the two civilians together, I'm gonna say they're probably together. They're probably at an above average, right? I'm gonna say the knight. The knight is at a high. I'm gonna give him a penalty of 1 for being tired. I'm gonna give those two civilians a +1 for double teaming him. Do the civilians overcome the knight? You ready? And you know I'm gonna make this shit look fire, and when I put it all together, like, this shit gonna be way more epic than do the travelers overcome this stupid ass knight? Yes. Yes. So you see one with the blunt object swinging at him.
Still unable to fix his helmet, the knight is tackled, but only brought to his knee, and now with the Uko in a choking headlock in place of his sword. The other Uko traveler makes a run for the dropped sword, but the knight attempts to block fails, as his hostage breaks loose and continues to hold his own against the ironclad knight, the flurry of wild kicks and adrenaline-powered shoves. The unskilled Uko clumsily swings the broadsword at the blinded knight, smacking him around in his likely stolen armor until his unbalance leads him to his attacker's face, and with it in his clutches, begins desperately and brutally gouging both the travelers' eyes out, succeeding a quarter way. The other Uko comes to his companion's aid and swings a reinforced walking stick into the knight's head, ringing it like a bell and inadvertently fixing its placement, falling headfirst into the dirt. The two begin beating the knight's legs in, cracking their unrelenting clubs over his kneecaps like chopping blocks. The one with the grievous eye wound, now permanently blind, runs over to the knight's face and meets him eye to eye to scream and spit into it. And with 3 fell chops, the traveler demolishes their ballsy assailant's face. The third and last thundered across the dry land so loudly that it seemingly caught the attention of one of the Brahubub. Grey Dart watches as the travelers loot the knight's body. They then peer up at him while collecting the knight's sword, helmet, shoes. Grey Dart appeared overall unimposing, standing still in the wind. They then look at each other, hop on their Derfaderi, and leap onward.
Walk past them towards the town, minding my own business. Okay, so you continue to follow behind the storm. Okay.
Grey Dart patiently walks a safe pace behind the Brahubub for a half day, taking in the spectacle, when suddenly both titans' heads collide and seem to briefly solidify inside of each other, causing them to temporarily shatter into fragments of hard rock sand, just before becoming the wind again, dispersing into 2 separate entities once more. That's when the bizarre occurs. For the first time ever known, the 2 incapacitated forces turn and gaze upon Grey Dart. Unbeknownst to Grey Dart, acknowledging a lesser life form was unprecedented. The Brahubub grimaces as if ashamed and completely dissipates. The clouds clear up and the wind settles, clearing a peaceful path toward the nearest settlement in view. Grey Dart, surprised, continues on and sees an expansive coastal town on the brim of an endless sea of sand. Many complex, indescribable vessels can be seen nestled within its ports, crowds of strangers congregating around its parameters. Grey Dart has arrived to the sailing sand South Harbor Mafrafarul.